What if Dagon was a vengeful cursed spirit born of Riko Amanai? Let's talk about it. But first, shout out to Alan for sponsoring today's video, and I especially appreciate the use of emojis here. First, let's talk about some background information that we can build from. So we've got cursed spirits and vengeful cursed spirits. What's the difference? Well, a normal cursed spirit is just kind of a collection of cursed energy that eventually condenses and takes physical form. For example, somebody like Jogo, who represents, the negative emotions surrounding volcanoes and fire and the earth, that eventually culminated into Jogo. Now, a vengeful cursed spirit isn't born from just pure negative emotions. It actually requires a human that it is born from, a human that dies, and very specifically does not die from cursed energy, has the potential to become a vengeful cursed spirit, just like Rika with Akotsu. Now, I know what you might be saying. I literally just used Jogo as an example of a normal cursed spirit. So wouldn't Dagon, as a fellow disaster curse representing humanity's fear of the ocean and sea creatures, etc., fit in that very same category? And yeah, I mean, that's what we're led to believe, right? That's what the implication is in Jujutsu Kaisen, that Dagon is a disaster curse. However, we don't know that for sure. And again, it's implied. There's no reason to not think that, but it's at least possible that that is a misconception on Mahito and whoever else's part, right? So if you're at least willing to come with me on this ride, and we can say that it exists within the realm of possibility that Dagon could be a vengeful cursed spirit, let's examine the signs that maybe point to it being Riko. First things first, she was killed by Toji, a man with zero cursed energy, with a gun, no less. So there was no cursed energy at all involved in her death, which means it is possible for her to return as a vengeful cursed spirit. Secondly, you do have to admit they look kind of similar, right? It looks as if Dagon is wearing a nun's outfit, and Riko went to a missionary school. Their headdresses here even look similar. I mean, as similar as you're gonna get with a human looking like a monster, right? So I think it's fair to say that there is somewhat of a resemblance here, especially in the meekness of Dagon before it transforms. It's also worth mentioning that in one of the Jujutsu strolls, the disaster curses are wearing the school uniforms, and specifically Dagon is wearing the female one, which, is not hard evidence or anything, but it is interesting. Next, Riko was heavily associated with the ocean and water imagery. So if Dagon isn't the disaster curse representative of humanity's fear of those things, it makes sense that Dagon would still have ocean powers and revolve around that if it was based on Riko. Another example here, because we know that Dagon in his domain used all of the sea creatures, right? And speaking of Dagon's domain, it's like a freaking paradise, right? It's a nice beach, a lovely ocean. They all hang out there. It's so nice, which again, if it was the disaster curse, it could be this, right? But this is a rather pleasant domain, all things considered. I could think of a much more terrifying ocean-type domain. So it could be that Dagon's domain is actually a reflection of Riko's last positive memory, going to the beach with all of her friends. And finally, you got to admit that there is a poetic narrative symmetry to the fact that Toji takes out Dagon with yet another headshot. Unfinished business. So yeah, could Dagon be Riko's vengeful spirit? I think this is really interesting. It's crazy that there are all those symmetries between the characters, but at the end of the day, I don't think this is the case. I think Gege would have done something with this information at this point, especially where we are in the manga currently, and there just hasn't been anything. And at this point, Dagon's been dead for forever now, right? So I think this reveal would have happened or would have had some impact on the story if this was the case. But, it's also one of those things that's not really going to affect anything if you want this to be your personal headcanon. So, it is what it is. But I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts in the comments.